Hello, my name is Taylor. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I love to talk about bookish things. So if that's something that interests you, I hope you'll stick around and subscribe and comment. I love interacting with y'all. But anyways, today I'm talking about the books that I have read recently, and recent being since June. So June, July. I am saving my August reads all for one video, my August wrap up, because I am participating in the End of Summer Jam readathon. So there's some specific questions for that readathon that I wanted to answer. So I'm trying to get these books out of the way so I can dedicate that video for just those August books. So I did not read a ton in June and July, primarily because my family and I traveled down to South Carolina and we stayed there for several weeks. And so a lot of our time was spent visiting family and friends, so I didn't read a ton, but I do have a decent amount to talk to you about, including 2 DNFs. So I do have some interesting takes on those. And so I am looking at my Goodreads right here so I can go in chronological order and not miss anything. That will just make my life a little bit easier. So let's start with the DNFs. First up, I have Live and Let Child by Bree Baker. This was for a collaboration video I did with Lucy from Lucy Chronicles. And so we read 2 of each other's favorite 5-star reads. And I did not get on with this one. This one did not mesh with my brain at all. I had picked this one because I was trying so hard to like the cozy mystery genre. And I have since learned that this is probably not going to be the genre for me. I have a hard time with contemporary anyways, but this genre seems to suspend my belief a lot more. Some of the human interactions are just not believable to me. If it's going to be set in the real world, it needs to be realistic. And sadly, my brain just cannot get on with cozy mysteries for not being realistic. And also the repetition. There's so many things that are just, it feels like rinse and repeat to me. Specifically, Bree Baker is the same person as Jacqueline Frost. I read one of those, the 12 Sleighs of Christmas. There were some plot points that were very, very, very similar. And so that just really got on my nerves. And the characters were making me angry. I just could not do it. So if you want more in-depth, in real-time reactions to this, I will have my vlog linked below so you can see. But yeah, sadly, I don't think I can do cozy mysteries, sadly. My other DNF is To Crown with Liberty by Karen Ulo, and this is a huge disappointment. One of the reasons being that Tammy from the Protagonist Pub and I read this together. We've been waiting for a year to read this book because we were supposed to read it last year, but life happened. It was my fault. But we've been waiting for a year, and what a letdown. This was something else. So let me tell you a little bit of a synopsis. So this is about Alex. She is part of the French aristocracy. She's very high up, very close to the French throne. At one point, she is a handmaiden to the queen. And there's another timeline with her living in New Orleans several years in the future. She's married to another guy. So you're like wondering what happened to her first husband. And she and her second husband are making their way in the colonies, trying to survive, trying to settle down, recover. Basically, she's traumatized from the French Revolution. And I mean, who wouldn't be? But yes, so this is a very much a French Revolution book, let me tell you. I have read one other French Revolution book, and that was The Tides of Time by Sarah M. Eden. That had a very small portion in that book, so I did not get a taste of it until reading this book. This is a very detailed French Revolution book, which is sad because I learned some stuff from this. One of those things being that the details of the French Revolution, how bloody and grotesque and just disgusting this whole time period is. And also, just fun fact, just thought I'd share because I didn't know, that they used to go to the bathroom in the halls of Versailles, just wherever. Okay, that was good. That was a good thing. But yeah, there's some historical truths that I learned from this story. There are, however, some historical inaccuracies, such as the portrayal of Thomas Jefferson. He was made to be more like a womanizer, and he would like stare into her bosom or whatever. And I don't know, he was just very flirty and just disgusting in his behavior. And I texted Tammy, I was like, is this accurate? It's very weird to learn stuff about the founding fathers as an adult that you had no idea about as a child, because she came back at me and said, no, this is more of a Ben Franklin thing. I was like, what? Ben Franklin? What? So anyways, that was not true. And also, she portrayed the Queen, Marie Antoinette, as having a stoop shoulder, but that was more of a rumor, according to Google, and she was making it seem like it was an actual fact. So, some truths, some inaccuracies in the historical aspects of the book. But the main character, Alex, was the most infuriating character I've ever read, probably. I can't think of any other than Mark Watney from The Martian. I think this is worse. I think Alex is literally the worst. She is so beyond selfish. She doesn't have a care of anybody else's needs. Oh, woe is me. She faints at the drop of a hat. Like any little thing that just irks her nerves or she's scared of, she will faint like nobody's business. There's a scene where the mob is storming the castle gates, basically, and she passes out. I'm like, if anybody should be passing out, it should be the Queen. But she passes out. She's like one of those caricatures in like really bad comedy movies where the lady just kind of falls and passes out every 5 seconds. This is her, but it's the main character. Why is the main character so weak? I don't understand. She literally almost passes out from her father receiving information. What? And there was one line where she's about to pass out and her carriage driver is like, oh, I'm going to quit, basically. But he served me well still because he took me inside to my husband so I can go pass out on the couch. Like, oh my goodness gracious. He's just so infuriating. And this is the part that made me DNF. So this is spoilery. If you do not want to hear, skip on ahead to the next book. I will have some timestamps. But I will tell you that this cheating trope, was in here. So in her first marriage, her husband is very laissez-faire. He says he loves her, but he doesn't really give her the time of day, except to suit his own needs. And she says she loves him, but she's showing attention and affection, is getting attracted to her milk brother, who is now her servant. So her milk brother, she grew up with this guy named Joseph until she was 7 because her parents wanted nothing to do with her and sent her to live with these people it's the gardener. And so Joseph's mom nursed her. So they're like milk siblings. Like they grew up together, but they're not actual blood related siblings, right? So he's still in their employ and she's like all attracted to him. She loves him. And so we're like towing the line with cheating up until her husband gets arrested and she decides to lay one on Joseph. I don't know, in some act of sheer desperation. I don't know. And so, gross. And so she's like describing it as like the ocean and it battering her and she's getting lost in the waves. And I'm like, ew. And yeah, and then probably the stupidest decision I've ever listened to. She flees her home. Her husband saves her life, literally pushes her out the window to make her go. She escapes with her life. Joseph runs with her, like they escape. But she decides to go back to their house. What? What do you mean go back to the house? Like you literally flew with your life. And Joseph takes her back and he doesn't have anything to say about this. Oh, we'll just go back. We'll go get your stuff. No, you don't go back. And then to top it all off, she goes to the prison to stay with her husband because she needs to serve him. He literally sacrificed himself for you. And you're just going to go right back into the enemy's arms. Oh, how sacrificial. And in the second timeline, she's happily married with Joseph. And yet she has feeling like this guy is showing her attention and, oh, this is the second time that another man has paid me attention while I'm married. What? No, just no. This was just ick. Sorry, could not do it. So anyways, rant. I'll try to be quick with the other books. Okay. what I actually read. Let's pull those up. So the first book I read was No Stone Unturned by Janelle Hovde. This was another buddy read with Victoria from Hot Cocoa and Books. This is a Regency era romance. And it was interesting because this was archaeology influenced. The main character's name, who is Bridget, I forgot her name. Bridget, she has an interest in artifacts, and so her friend's property has some Roman artifacts, which I didn't know Roman artifacts were in Britain, so that was something I learned. It was interesting. But the property in question is disputed with the Lord's property, who is nearby. And so the Lord recently died, his heir is coming back, and once you know what happens there, the Lord is coming in, and they have almost like a Pride and Prejudice type of enemies to more situation here. And it was a fun, sweet read. I rated it 3.5 stars. It reminded me a lot of Pride and Prejudice, Beauty and the Beast, and Seeking Persephone. It has a lot of those elements. It's like if all of those came together and made a baby, that would be this book. There were some things at the end that I was kind of questioning that seemed a little bit too convenient, or I didn't have all the answers to my questions. But it was a sweet Regency read. Next book is Things We Didn't Say by Amy Lynn Green. This is a World War II book, and I gave it 5 stars, which is a huge thing because I don't typically like World War II books. And I will say, if you're like me and don't love all of the like really heavy, hard topics where you feel like your heart's just being dragged through the mud and stomped on and torn to pieces, that type of World War II book, that is not this. This is an entirely epistolary novel, which I've never read one of those. I highly, highly, highly recommend the audiobook. She did a phenomenal job. So good. And this was just so interesting. This woman, whose name is Johanna, she is an interpreter. She's in college, and so she gets asked to come back to her hometown, which she vowed she would never come back to. There's a lot of drama, but she is basically, against her will, sent back to this camp, this prisoner of war camp, to be a German translator. And so her loyalties are in question later on in the book. So it's kind of a, she's presenting her case that she is innocent of treason. And so there's all these letters and transcripts and things, and there is romance in here. And I just thought it was absolutely fascinating. I learned about how we shouldn't have blind patriotism, and we should be more, focused on what the Lord says. And so it was such a good book. I highly recommend it. This was her debut novel, and I'm definitely going to be checking out other books by Amy Lynn Green. Okay, next book is Seeking Revenge, a Villainous Goldilocks retelling by Mary Meekum. Y'all know I love me some Mary Meekum books. Really enjoyed this. I can't say a lot about it because it is book 5. Yep, book 5 in the Legends of Neverland series. So can't say a lot about it, but I love Mary Meekum's characters. They are very adventurous and brave and bold, and this one has a character kind of like a Mulan type of thing where she's dressed as a boy and she's trying to figure out what happened to her family. And I rated it 4 stars. It was a good time. Really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed seeing some previous characters. I love cameos from previous characters, and you're learning more about them over time. I will say the further you get into the series, the more you learn and the more you start to feel differently about a specific character. So I'll just say that. Next was Head in the Clouds by Karen Wittemeyer. This is the other book I read for the collaboration with Lucy. I rated it 4 stars. This was a really sweet read. It's my first Karen Wittemeyer book, and I am interested in reading more by her. This was a Western type story about a governess who goes to live with a sheep rancher, and he has a little girl in his care, not blood related, but he's basically acting as her father. She comes to be her governess, and this girl is mute at the time, presumably because of some trauma. And so you see their relationship unfold, you see found family, and it had a lot of different stuff in there. It had romance and action, thrilling aspects to it, mystery. It had a lot of stuff going for it, and the cover, you just would not assume that stuff would be in there, but it was really sweet, clean read, and I really liked the main character. She was just bubbly and happy, and the only complaint I have, the only reason I made it 4 stars is because I felt like the villain plot was pretty predictable, and I've seen it several times. So that's the only thing. The next book I read was the first one in July. So for the Red, White, and June readathon, I was supposed to read that for that, but it got pushed a little bit into July. So that is Spark of the Revolution by Megan Soja. This one, I think a lot of us read for the Red, White, and June readathon and the 4th of July, because this is obviously set during the American Revolution. And this is about a young woman whose name is Patience. And she is coming over from Britain to stay with her dad because her mother just recently passed away, and she has no idea what's going on with the politics of the American colonies. So she's just learning all this. Her father is a loyalist, but she's learning that the Patriots might have some just cause. So there's some tension there. Her brother also has some Patriot leanings, and so she has interest in this guy that she meets who is a Patriot. So it was just fascinating seeing the events that lead up to the Boston Tea Party, and I really enjoyed it. I rate it 3.5 stars. I think it, again, there was some plot points in there that I thought were a little bit too convenient or a little bit too over the top. One specific element I'm talking about, but it's a little bit of a spoiler. So I've heard that the books just get better and better as you read through the series. So unfortunately, not a 5-star for me like a lot of my friends, but I did really enjoy it. The next book I did not enjoy. One of the lowest books I've read, lowest ratings I've given for a book this year. Very sad, but it is The Princess by Lori Wick. And this one I've heard is a lot of people's favorites. It's a quote-unquote Christian classic. And this is a more modern story. I think it's written in like the 90s or something. And this is about a fictional kingdom where the heir has to be married by like his 26th birthday or something. He has to be married. And so his first wife died. He's absolutely desolate, and his parents agree to help him out by finding him a bride, and they find the princess, whose name is Shelby. Yeah, so there were some things that I appreciated. I appreciated the everyday faith, like they talked about praying and reading the Bible, and there was a part about a child questioning faith. But let me tell you what I didn't like. The amount of times that Shelby was mentioned as blushing was absolutely ridiculous. It was so much. I know women can blush a lot, but reading about it that many times was really annoying. And the interactions that were written, it felt very sterile. Like it felt like it was very textbook, like not realistic in my opinion. And there's just a lot of stuff I could say about this. And again, check out my description box for the link to my ramblings about this one, because I have a long list of things I did not like. So I tried to touch on a few of them, but there was also something that really bothered me, and I'll stop here. But there is a miscarriage that happens in this one. And the person that it happens to almost kind of blows it off. I felt like no one really grieved that baby. And I was just a little bit put off by that. So that's just my personal opinion. Again, other people seem to love this book, but it just did not mesh well with me. And you may be wondering, why didn't you DNF this book? That's because I was listening to it and I was driving back home to Indiana, which is a very long drive. So I can't mess with my phone while I'm driving. So I just kept listening. And yeah, otherwise I would have DNF'd it. So, all right. One that's really, really good that I highly recommend. And I rated it 5 stars. I had such a good time. Favorite book out of the ones in this list. Alliance Bride by J.L. Knight. What can I say? I loved this book. This was a marriage of convenience. there are two countries that need a marriage alliance to happen. And this is a fantasy world. Like it's written kind of historical, but it's all like a made up world, but it feels historical. So if you like historical fiction or historical romance, I think you would really like this book, even though it's fantasy. It doesn't have any magic in it or anything. It's non-magical Christian fantasy. So the main character, whose name is Evelyn, she is a Christian, and she's basically marrying the pagans, the pagans in the country next door, a pagan. And he was married previously. His wife died, so he never thought he would get married again. He really loved his wife. She died like 3 years ago. So trying to break through to him to truly be a husband and a wife. And there's warring factions and there's political intrigue. And I just had such a good time. And I will say, this very much reminded me of the Elven Alliance series, particularly in the beginning with the marriage alliance scenes. So much reminded me of that. It also really reminded me of like a clean alternative to Outlander. It had similar culture. It had fight scenes in there that was very reminiscent of Scots fighting. And there was also even a violent game that men played with each other, and it was great. So I would recommend this if you like marriage of convenience, slow burn romance. It's definitely a slow burn. You gotta break through some walls here, Evelyn, to get through to your man. A Viking or ancient Scottish Irish culture, action-packed scenes, protective male main character, faith journeys, and positive family dynamics. There's definitely found family, and this is a really big theme. So if any of that sounds fabulous to you, I think you will enjoy this book. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. I buddy read this with Alma. I don't think she's finished yet, but I have shared my thoughts with her, so I can go ahead and tell y'all. I rated this 4.5 stars. I love Sherlock. I just love reading about him. He's hilarious in my opinion. He doesn't mean to be, but he is. How his mind works is absolutely fascinating. His dynamic with Watson, and Watson's trying to figure out how Sherlock sees what he does, and he's like, I'm just stupid. And Sherlock's like, yeah, you are. But not really. But I just think it's so interesting. They're dynamic, and they are definitely a dynamic duo for all of literary history, right? And these stories, they were made up of 12 different stories, and a lot of them I guessed what was going to happen. So yay me. But I wasn't like turned off by that. I thought it was still very interesting. The last one especially was very, very spooky. It reminded me a lot of Rebecca. So I'll just leave it there. The last book I want to talk about that I finished is Soul Surfer by Bethany Hamilton. I rated this 3 stars. Definitely recommend the movie. I thought the movie was absolutely fantastic. The book, I did not realize, is written by Bethany when she was 14, and it really does reflect that. The story was kind of a little bit all over the place. It was not very linear, and it's very short. The audiobook is 4 hours long. It's a nice, easy listen. I think it is a great recommendation for teen and young girls. Talks about faith and how she overcame having her arm bitten off by a shark, if you didn't know her story, and how she's dealing with fame and all of that. And I just thought that I enjoyed the movie more than the book. And I think primarily it's because of the writing style, which I just didn't have the realistic expectations going into it that it was written by her when she was 14. So I did appreciate her story. I appreciate how she's overcome, and how she's still putting her faith and trust in the Lord, and her story, I'm sure, has helped so many people. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts on those books. I have to go pick up my kids, but let me know if you're reading these books and what you thought of them. If not, leave me a yellow heart emoji. So, hope you have a blessed day, y'all.